So, thank you very much for having me. So, I'm Nick Hatter, Gift Gaming CEO. And, well, like a lot of you, I used to be an indie developer. I love games, so I started building them when I was just 13 years old. I started off in Dark Basic, and then I went to Java, and then HTML5, Unity, and then Marmalade. And, well, basically, my last project was a Japanese RPG called Pilgrim, which was it was coming on really, really well, and it was inspired by Final Fantasy VIII. But there was just one big problem, and that's funding. I didn't have the funds to actually pay artists to do the artwork and 3D modeling, etc. So I naively went to Cambridge Startup Weekend, where I went to, quote, find investor contacts. But what I came out with was a lot more than I actually bargained for. And actually, I ended up giving birth to Gift Gaming. And it's basically a non-intrusive in-game advertising startup. And it's just been an incredible ride. It's been really, really crazy. So it kind of started off, I went to Cambridge Startup Weekend, pitched my idea, they loved it. The next thing I know, I quit my day job. I was earning a really good wage, working in internet security. I quit my day job, I sold everything I owned, including my PS3, sadly. And then I moved to Cambridge. And I joined the Accelerate Cambridge Startup Accelerator, which is part of Cambridge Judge Business School. So it's one of the best universities and one of the best business schools in the world. And it's been fantastic for teaching me everything about how to hire, how to fire, how to raise funds, legal issues to watch out for. And next thing I know, I'm at TechCrunch Disrupt Europe, pitching Gift Gaming to over 2,000 people and 200 accredited journalists. And then we got featured in Management Today. Management Today asks, has a UK startup finally cracked how to make money from mobile gaming? Wow, amazing. And then Wired then come to me and say, hey, would you be interested in giving us your thoughts on what's the most exciting technology? So I said Apple iBeacon, because I really think it's cool that you can walk past an iBeacon sensor, and then your iPhone can perform some kind of action on an app. And the fact that Wired came to me, I was just gobsmacked. And then only last week, Strategy Eye said that Gift Gaming was one of 10 Silicon Fen Cambridge companies to watch in 2015. So it's just been, as I said, it's just a crazy, crazy ride. So anyway, one of the reasons why I started Gift Gaming is this: ads suck. And I know that I'm sure lots of ad networks have also been up here pitching today. I don't mean no disrespect, but indies work really, really hard in their games, and why would you want to ruin games with ads like that stain the screen like streaks on a toilet bowl? Charlie Brooker gets the credit for that original analogy. So these are my old game projects, and as you can see, I've developed quite a few games there. But unfortunately, they're all going to die with me. When I go to the graveyard, these games will most likely come with me. And this is actually the only game I've ever published, which is Thunderclap. It was a very simple, casual game where the screen flashes white, and then you have to touch the screen. If you don't touch it in time, it's game over. And this brings me on to the first pitfall that indie developers need to avoid, which is this: thinking it has to be perfect. Now, you'd be amazed at how many great, awesome games I saw today and the last few days at Casual Connect Europe. And it amazed me how many of these games weren't on the App Store. And I'm thinking, why? These games look amazing, and one developer is like, oh yeah, but it's only an alpha version. I'm like, what do you mean it's only an alpha version? The game looks amazing. It's already highly polished. Release it already. So if you worry about perfectionism too much, you end up like me. You end up having a huge portfolio of games which are not quite finished. So don't worry about perfectionism. Just get something out there. Get feedback early as possible. Now, the second pitfall is evenly splitting equity in a founding team. Now, this is a mistake I've seen, which has unfortunately screwed up some companies I know, where they've had maybe two founding founders, and they split the equity evenly, and one of them decides to walk off or just disappears into the sunset. And now he owns half the company. So that's a really bad idea. What you want to do instead is you want to award equity based on how experienced you are, how much time commitment you're giving, and how much skill you have in what you do. And this brings me on to the next pitfall, which is letting founders walk off with equity. This is a really bad idea. Before you transfer any shares to anyone, you need to get what's called a shareholder agreement. And in this shareholder agreement, it needs to say, it needs to have a vesting schedule. And the vesting schedule basically says, if you leave after a certain number of years, then you only keep X% of however many shares you own. And if you leave, say, before a year, then you don't get to keep any shares. And again, this vesting schedule is really important because first, you don't want people leaving with large chunks of the business. And secondly, if people do that, investors will not like it one bit. So get a shareholder agreement, get a vesting schedule agreement. Another pitfall is no formal IP ownership. So I'm sure some of you in the audience, you might have paid an artist or a programmer to do something for your game, but just because you've paid them, in UK law at least, it doesn't mean that they've transferred the rights to the intellectual property over. Now, I'm not a lawyer, so just a massive disclaimer, not a lawyer, please seek legal advice about this. But if you're going to pay someone to do some artwork or programming for you, then you need to make sure in your contract it says that you will be able to acquire the moral rights under the copyright law. Another pitfall is too much time on competitions. Now, Casual Connect Indie Prize is a massive exception. I think it's a great PR opportunity, and I'm dare say a lot of you have entered into that. But I'm on about more things about like game jams and stuff. And I know this is a bit of a controversial opinion, because I know a lot of you in the audience, you might like game jams, and they're a lot of fun. You drink beer and you eat pizza, and it's great. But ultimately, if you already have a game project, and then you go to a game jam, it's like being married and then going to a speed dating event, And I think you need to really stay focused. And I've heard some developers say, oh, but but we have, our company, we have a 20% time policy where we can spend 20% of our time on, our own projects. And okay, yeah, that might work for Google, but the reality is that you guys aren't Google. You're indie developers, you're small studios. You don't have the funds and the resources to pursue a lot of projects. So my opinion is that you should focus on one thing at a time, get your project done, get it shipped, and then start another project. Now, this is an obvious pitfall, not sleeping and exercising enough, but really, creative people suffer the worst when they haven't had enough sleep. Creative people need sleep for their brains to function most efficiently. And in addition, exercise has been proven to improve the effectiveness of your brains. So if you want to be the most creative, and I know indie developers, they live and breathe creativity, you need to make sure you're keeping the engine well-oiled, so to speak. So please get enough sleep. Not pursuing your passion. Now, it depends on what your passion is, and I firmly believe in doing what you love, because at the end of the day, every single one of this in this room is going to die someday. And I know this sounds really dark and ominous, but I don't know, recently I've become more and more aware of death. I know I've had friends who've died in the last few years. My grandfather passed away last year, and it got me thinking that life is finite, not infinite. So you really need to do what you love. If you're in a job now, seriously think about quitting your job and doing what you love full time, because your job is going to take up most of your life. Now, thinking you can do everything. So I know there's some really, really successful just crazy successful solo devs, like the developer of Flappy Bird. But how many Flappy Birds are there? There's one, right? And basically the rule of thumb is that in order to be successful, you need a team. Because there's all sorts of things that need to be done. So yes, somebody needs to do the artwork, you've got the animation, the programming, the sound engineering, the localization, the monetization, and it's a big mistake to think that you can do everything. And I know I've met some devs and they think that they can do everything, and trust me, you can't. And I know this because when I started gift gaming, I was alone. And very quickly, I found myself getting overwhelmed with tasks to do. Now, this pitfall, thinking the live demo or multimedia will work, I'm sure many of you in the audience, know that you go to someone and they want to show you a demo, and oh, it doesn't work. But it was working last night. And this is something I've seen so many times. Or you've been to a conference and somebody wants to show you a video on the PowerPoint, and then there's that awkward 5 minutes where they're I'm just trying to play it a second. Yeah, Steve, could you come here and just get the video working? So don't rely on multimedia or live demos to work. Yes, you need live demos to show your game. Great, but always have screenshot backups or something really simple, especially if you're giving a presentation. And obviously you might get a blue screen of death when you least suspect it as well. So don't even rely on the laptop to work. Be able to give a pitch without slides as well. So another pitfall is listening to naysayers. Now, I'm sure lots of you in the audience, you've come up with some really, really great ideas in your lifetime, and maybe you went to your boss to pitch that idea, and your boss was just like, it's never going to work. And it's really demoralizing. If you're like me, I'm a very sensitive soul. If you say, that's not a good idea, it's like being shot in the heart. And actually, somebody said the same thing about gift gaming. They said, gift gaming will never work, because why the hell would a game publisher or a developer come to you when they can do a deal with the brand directly? I'm sorry, but gift gaming will never work. And I'm like, whoa, okay. But I like to think that success is the greatest form of revenge, because I'm like, well, funny you say that, because we've now got over 30 major brands signed up on board with affiliate deals through various affiliate networks. We had, within a week of putting our gift gaming plugins to the public, we had 5 studios from around the world sign up. And after pitching at TechCrunch Disrupt Europe, we also had 3 big game publishers sign up to our beta program. So, I like to think that we're proving this guy wrong, and similarly, my lesson to you is that you need to have almost irrational optimism. People are telling you it's not going to work, but it was Ford who said, Henry Ford, the inventor of Ford cars, he said, a plane takes off always against the wind and never with it. So you might be doing something that's radically different, and don't be afraid. Be different. That's what I say. Don't be afraid to be that, that underdog, because someday you might, become the next Henry Ford. So this is one of the last pitfalls. So I'm going to just contradict everything I just said. And you do need to, at some point, you do need to take on constructive criticism. So, you might show your game to someone, and like me, there was one game I was shown at this conference, and I couldn't quite figure out how to play it. I like to think I'm not stupid, and I am a gamer and a game developer. So I'm like, well, if I can't play it, then who will be able to play it? And you need to listen. You need to listen to feedback. Sometimes feedback you're going to get is not always going to be great. People are going to say, "Oh, that was that the game was just too damn hard," or this wasn't good enough. And it's important not to. I mean, if they're being an asshole about it, then fine. Just ignore them. But it's important to try and see some truth in what they're saying as well, and that's how you're going to make the best possible game, I think, possible. So, going back to what I said earlier about ads suck. As you can see, you have a game on the left which doesn't have ads, and you have a game on the right which does have ads. And I think it's pretty obvious that ads can actually dilute the gaming experience, and they can actually make people want to spend less on the games, which is not a good thing, right? We want people to spend money in our games, we want people to buy our games, and so you've got to be really, really careful with ads, and I think that's just one of the many reasons why they suck. And also because, I always seem to find that the ads I do get are just really irrelevant, or like I'm not a gambling guy, so why am I getting, gambling ads? So that's partly why I created Gift Gaming, because I wanted to try and, tackle this problem of like providing high quality ads, but also doing it non-intrusively, so I wouldn't have to watch a video ad, I wouldn't have to sign up to a trial of, some cinema company, or I wouldn't have to give away my email address. I would just get, a free power-up. So in Unity, how it would work is basically you get the Gift Gaming package, you import it, and then you just drag and drop the Gift Gaming prefab into your main menu scene. And that's it. That's most of the integration work done. You can then customize how often the gift icon appears, etc. And you can also customize how the gift icon looks. And then what happens then is when a gift icon randomly appears in the game, you tap the gift icon, and then the brand, like Base Buds, will give the player some of your coins or a power-up, and they'll also give the player a coupon. The player doesn't have to save that coupon. As it is what it is, it's a gift. Gifts should not have conditions attached to them. I remember I went to this coffee house, and my coffee was getting cold, and the barista came over and said, "Oh, here's a free coffee on the house." And I thought, wow, thanks, I wasn't expecting that. And I think that's kind of the effect we're trying to achieve with gift gaming. It's this surprise gift aspect. We're not asking for anything. Finally, gift gaming, we have plugins for Unity, HTML5, and Marmalade. So, to wrap up, stop anticipating, release early, listen to feedback, and sleep. Please get some sleep after this conference. I can see some of you're looking quite tired. And that's not an insult, you're all beautiful, but please get some sleep. I'm sure I look like shit too. So on another final note, I'd like to give my thanks to Casual Connect for having me here. And to quote Jessica Tams, the managing director of Casual Connect and Casual Games Association, she said, "Casual games are the center of the universe." Now, if that's true, then game developers are the gods who give that universe life. So thank you very much, and please check out our plugins. Any questions?
Thank you so much for the presentation. Do we have? Yes, we have questions.
All right, so I want to ask about the controversial opinion you had about game jams.
Yeah.
So how much time was too much time? Would you say, for example, 1 or 2 game jams a year would be already too much? Because I find it's also a very good source of getting new inspiration, even for existing games.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to depend on the individual. Whatever works for you, right? I mean, for me, my way of getting inspiration is to, take a hot shower, go to the gym, and kind of let things mull over in the back of my head, or maybe go and see a film, read a book. So, what I'm trying to say is that you just need to be mindful of it. You just need to remember that it could be a major distraction. Like, a good example is me, right? I was working on this big, awesome JRPG. I go to Cambridge Startup Weekend because I'm like, yeah, I can make some investor contacts, meet some entrepreneurs, get some advice, and I end up stopping doing my game. And I know that some game developers I've spoken to have said that they suffer from post-game jam depression because, they have such an awesome time there. So it's just something to bear in mind.
All right, thank you.
Hey, no worries.
More questions? No? Then thank you again for the great presentation.
Okay, thank you, everyone.